6, guys, is gratitude. Blink and you'll miss it. Gratitude. Blink and you will miss it. It is absolutely as if we're programmed. We're programmed for the negative instead of the positive. It's just in our nature. I'm a huge sports radio fan. I listen to it a lot. And, the Heat go out and they win the championship, and the host is on the radio and he's begging people to call in and share their experience. But let the Dolphins lose a playoff game. The earth is about to end. You can't get on the line. There's so many people lined up to spew their negativity, right? It's just the way we are. It is absolutely the way we're programmed. So much so that unless we make a conscious effort to be grateful, we will dwell in the stress and the noise of the negative. We just will. And so how do we physically go about not missing out on gratitude? How do we physically go about not missing out on gratitude? Well, we can put up slide number 7, guys. It's 3 things. We need to stop, we need to look, and we need to go. So when we stop, we're going to learn to stop long enough to recognize gratitude opportunities. We need to build, sometimes we even need to build stop signs into our life. And part of this section is step number 10, and that's a daily inventory. And so what might need to happen is part of your daily inventory might be to actually do a gratitude list. You might actually every single day when you're doing your rest of your inventory, just write down a gratitude list for the day. And that's a good way to slow down enough to be grateful for things. And this is called our interior gratitude. And then second, we are going to look. We're going to look, right? Open your senses. I remember when I moved from California to Florida, California had been in the midst of a terrible, terrible drought. I had not seen with my own eyes rain in about 4 years. It did rain once or twice, but it was at night and I didn't even see it. So, like 4 years I hadn't seen rain. So when I moved here to Miami, the very first day I went out into this warehouse, these big doors, and it was pouring, right? It was pouring. And I just stood there like, just amazed because it had been so long since I seen it. And so it's one of the things we got to do. We have to open our senses, open our eyes. Again, we talk about mission trip stuff. If you think, you think you take a lot of things for granted, just go on a mission trip. Go get your cold showers. Go live in different conditions for a week or 10 days, and you will come back a much more grateful person, right? And then open your heart. We need to open our heart. We need to open our hearts to opportunities to help others. Even letting others know that we are grateful for them. And this is kind of cool because it's kind of the opposite of a 9th step, which we talked about the 9th step last week. And so that was to make amends, right? Well, this is the opposite. This is just like call people you know and just let them know you're grateful for them and you're grateful for the things that they do. And you think, wow, that's really going to weird people out. But no, they never get it. And so people will actually be excited and grateful for the fact that oh, wow, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that, right? So this is our exterior gratitude because we're focusing on things outside of us and we're focusing on other people. And then finally, go. We need to go. We need to take advantage of our opportunities to enjoy rather than pass them by. There's so many things, as we said earlier, there's so many things that we take for granted and then we pass right on by without even noticing it. We need a new set of eyes. There's this thing called the law of familiarity, and it just basically states that we absolutely ignore the things that we've become jaded to, that we become used to, right? So just as an example, you don't think people in Seattle appreciate a nice sunny day? Yeah, they absolutely do. But us, we're like, oh, it's too hot. I wish it was cooler. Yeah, every day. Coincidences, the little things that are just like, we talk a lot about in church is that, there are no coincidences in God's economy. But we know that there's those little things that I guess we call them more God incidences. But if those are the things that catch our attention, that if we're not paying attention, we just kind of let them go by. And certainly the magical moments, the things that happen that we sit back and we're just like, man, only God could have orchestrated that. Like, that's just too, uh, it's too unbelievable that it happened in that way, right? But a lot of times, and there's a lot of people that just look right past it or don't even notice it or go on with their day and just like, whatever, yep, moving on. And this is just being grateful for the useless things in life, or by useless by world standards, because the world doesn't really pay attention to those things. You really have to, as I say, have a different set of eyes, a different set of ears, and really perceive what's going on around you in order to be grateful for a lot of those things. And so another huge byproduct of gratitude is, and this is slide number 8, guys, is serving, giving back. And so if you are grateful, by definition, you are not fearful. You are respectful. You are humble. And so much so that you just want to give back. It's now in your nature. You want to give back. And so whether that's giving back to others in the secular rooms, they talk about it, holding the door the same way that somebody held the door for me, or if that's giving back to God, the grace that he freely showed us by serving in some capacity, any capacity, wherever he calls for you to be. And whatever it is, something that brings him glory. And as long as we're doing that, it's just something that we want to do, right? It's something that we want to do. And Matthew 20:26 through 28, and that's slide number 9, guys, ESV. But whoever would be great among you must be a servant, even as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve. And 1 Peter 4:10, slide number 10, it says that as each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. In other words, if we are freely given grace, then we should want to turn around and freely give that grace to others. What better way to do that than to make ourselves a shining light, or a beacon of hope, or example of his love? And that's why God puts us in those positions. We are to be his messenger, not only for words, just by what we do. We become the light. We become that hope. We become that beacon. And others just see it and like, I don't know what he's got, but I want what he's got, right? Galatians 5:13, slide 11. Galatians 5:13 says, for you were called to freedom, brothers, only do not use that freedom as an opportunity for flesh, but through love serve one another. For the whole law is fulfilled in one word: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So a problem does arise, though, when we are not tuned in enough to know what plans God has in store for us. And so this is why devotional time is so important. We talk about it in CR all the time. You need to be in the Word every day. Be in the Word every day. Relationships about conversation. Conversations need to take place on a regular basis, not when you feel like it. Every day, right? So God not only wants to hear from us, as I said in our prayer, but he also wants to speak to us. And not just on the days where we want, as I said, not on the days where we want. He wants to speak to us on the days where he wants to tell us something. And I can't tell you how many times I've been in his word and he just puts something on my heart. He gives me a message. He gives me a direction. He tells me something to do. And I had it wasn't in the conversation. It wasn't part of what I was thinking earlier that day. It was just something that he gave me directly out of his word. And so, as we discussed, it's his time, not our time. And when he wants to give you a message, when he wants to give you a direction, he's not going to wait on you to bring up the subject. He wants to give it to you when he wants to give it to you, but we have to be willing to receive it. So another issue is the fact that when we're serving, we get a little short-sighted. We get short-sighted vision of the fact that we're helping others, right? We're doing other people a favor by doing the service that we're doing. And that's a super dangerous place to go. That is pride. Obviously, that is pride, and that is not from God. And we forget the fact that he is teaching us. He's teaching us in every instance. He's teaching us in everything that we go through. Just because we're doing it doesn't mean we're not learning. In fact, just right now in this message, as I'm teaching it, I'm learning. So everything that we do in serving, we also are learning. And let's just keep it real. You know, the fact is, God ordained it, or you wouldn't be doing it in the first place. So again, let's keep it real. Slide number 12, guys. Hebrews 9:14 says, "Much more will the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without blemish to God, purify our conscience from dead works to serve the living God." And so to wrap up this section on serving and giving back through the character trait of gratitude, we have to remember that it's a straight up either or. Okay, it's either or. Who are you going to serve today? You're either going to serve God or you're going to serve yourself. And there is no other alternative. It's God or yourself. It's one or the other. Joshua 24:15 says, "And if it is evil in your eyes to serve the Lord, choose this day whom you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." So we're wrapping it up here. Slide number 14. Why should we work a 12-step program? And this is where we started. This was the whole basis for the series that we're doing, the 4-part series we're doing. Why should we work a 12-step program? And so we've gone through a lot. We've gone through a lot in the last 4 weeks, not only in our personal lives, but we've given a lot of information in a very compressed time. 4 weeks is a very 4 nights basically is a very small amount of time to be giving this much information on how and why the 12 steps works. But as we say that, let's get to the fact. Why does it work? It works because it's biblical. We've cited verse after verse after verse. We've talked directly out of the Word as to why it works, each and every section of each and every part of it. It works because it's biblical. And it also works through, and these were the parts that we went over. It works through our humility. It works through our vulnerability, our honesty, and then finally, it works through our gratitude. And the crazy part is this is not rocket science. This is not stuff that you guys don't know or didn't know. The only problem is that a lot of times we don't put them into practice well enough, or we do it for a while and it goes away because it doesn't become part of us. And so when we use these virtues to complete our step program, all of a sudden they start to cling to us. They start to become us. They start to become part of our character, right? And so what happens when they do become part of our character? Well, and when that happens, we are well on our way. We're well on our way to doing the other thing that we said we wanted to accomplish by working the steps is to, slide number 15, guys. We want to restore or establish our right standing relationship with God. We want to restore or establish our right standing relationship with God. And this is where we wrap up the whole series, the whole 4 weeks. So why do we work the steps? Steps 1 through 9. These help us to restore that right standing relationship. They effectively have cleaned our side of the street. They have cleaned our slate. We took all of our junk, all the stuff that we held in, all the stuff that we stuffed for so long and did not process, and we processed it and we cleaned it all out. We cleaned it all out, right? And then steps 10, 11, and 12, these are often called the maintenance steps. They give us the knowledge and the tools to move on in the future, to be able to continue to process the things that happen to us, process them as they come in, and then be able to move on so that we don't build that reservoir behind the dam that we had for so very long. So we just have to be careful. We have to be careful. We often will, when we do this, we will fall into the trap of complacency, and that's one of the things I had mentioned earlier. Is we obtain the knowledge on how to do it, but what we can then do is we fall into this complacency We fall into the trap of routine, and routine is great. I'm a routine guy. I've said it over and over. I love routine. Routine is absolutely fine, except when it comes to my relationship with God. That is the one thing that I absolutely, every single day, have to be very cognizant and very aware of the fact that I'm not going through the motions, that it's not routine, that I'm not checking boxes, that I'm growing in my relationship with God. And why is that? Because he wants more from us. He wants more. He cleaned us up. He set us on solid ground. And why did he do all that for us? Completely unlovable creatures. Why would he do that for us? Because he wants something from us. He wants more from us. He doesn't want us to reach a certain point and be okay with where we're at. We should want to continue to grow. We should want to continue to grow. And we talk about it a lot. Is if he woke you up this morning, he's still got a plan for your life, and it ain't to sit in an easy boy lounge chair and relax. Okay, he's got something that he wants you to do, but he needs you to work with him on finding that, and then walking through the door and being obedient and doing it, right? And unnamed author, anonymous author says, but a man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what is heaven for? We need God. If it's going to exceed our grasp, the only way that's happening is with God's help, right? So he wants us to keep it going. He wants us to keep it fresh. He wants us to keep it with a vitality that makes it exciting. Because if it's new, if it's fresh, if it's exciting, that's when we're going to do it every day. That's when we're going to be in the good habit of staying in that right relationship and keeping up on that right relationship with God. So we need to keep it fresh. And every single day, we need to do it day by day. All right. So I want to thank you very much. I want to thank you for allowing me to share. It has been a pleasure. Certainly over these last 4 weeks, we've covered a lot of big time subjects. And, I don't know how long this pandemic is going to continue on. As I said last week, I think we're getting close. I think we are. But we'll see. We'll see how long it is until we're able to start at least the ministries back at church. And then we'll kind of take it from there. But until then, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. Not sure what we're going to talk about next week, but I'm sure God will provide. He always does. And we will be back here next week. So thank you so much, guys, for coming out. We really appreciate the fact that, none of this matters unless you guys come here. And so we're very grateful for the fact that you guys come out and that you watch the meeting. What we would like to do before we split is to go ahead and do the serenity prayer. So, Jordan, if you could put that serenity prayer up there, I would appreciate it. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace. Taking as Jesus did, this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen.